This is a video about Surya Neti and using a neti pot. I'm going to be demonstrating these things a little bit. Why do you want to do this? Well, when you take a breath, every single breath is an opportunity to release some unhelpful pattern, be it in your body, in your mind. The breathing in the mind is so intricately and intimately linked. If you're able to start to be more aware of your breath, your life is going to profoundly and fundamentally change. The material stuff doesn't change very quickly, but the observation and the awareness of the material stuff can change in an instant. Everything can change with healthy, happy breath. So, seeing the world in a different way, in a happy or a safe or enjoyable and exciting, inquisitive way, as opposed to a place that is a burden, which is what we can fall into with poor respiratory health. So after I've taken a neti pot, it's generally just you have to be quite aware and tuned into it, no distractions around. But if you're actually tuned into your breath already, you'll appreciate, wow, it feels really free to breathe. It feels there's just this subtle sense of feeling liberated from a restriction. And the body has a lot of intelligence and it's having these conversations without our knowing a lot of the time. This is to do with polyvagal theory, that the body is taking cues from the environment, and if it's in a state of stress, it's going to likely take negative cues that the environment is less than perfectly comfortable, and if it's um, in a happier and healthier state, then it's going to take cues of happiness. So let's have a look at these cleanses and kriyas, huh? Clean as a whistle. So Neti's done. I do have a copper pot, but it doesn't have a very good bell end on it. But this plastic one is pretty good. Fits nicely into the nose. The copper one's like a razor blade. It's not good. Um, so unless I can adapt it. Anyway, here's the Surya Neti. So this is yeah, this is quite a thin gauge. You probably can't see, but maybe you can compare it to my finger. It's quite thin. The last ones I had were a bit thicker, which were a bit more useful. Anyway, I'm going to do this now, and there'll probably be an editing process because most people probably don't like the GaG reflex, which I'm likely going to do with this thinner gauge. But the thicker gauge is a bit better. Anyway, don't worry, no gags, and it's going to go through. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know if it's actually going to make it. It didn't work last time. So just going up on the top end of the nostril, and there's a point where it starts to feel, it's probably in profile about here now, and it gets to a point where it gets a bit tickly and you feel it in your throat. So I'm starting to swallow at that point because I want it to go not in my lung, I want it to go in the throat, in the back of the mouth. I'm just giving it a little twizzle as well. I'm just kind of playing with it here, just trying to get that feeling of just tiny. It's almost like a little scratch at the back of the throat. I know it doesn't sound nice, but it's actually not that bad. And part of the benefit of doing this as well, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it talking. Part of the benefit of doing this, I've really noticed I've not done it for a while, and I take like vitamin supplements, and I'm like occasionally choking. I'm like, oh god, here we go, trying to get it out. When I did this regularly, it's like really good neural control in what's happening in the throat and the mouth. So you just have this like heightened awareness. And then in the Tantra traditions, above Vishuddhi chakra, there's another chakra which is the top of the back of the mouth. So this is a really important energetic area for awareness to reside. Yeah, in a while. Try the other nostril, give that one a break. Feels weird at first.
It's going in. Where are we now? Okay, starting to reach a bit of a boundary, so I'm twizzling now to try and find a way through. This one seems a bit easier. Here we go. So a little tickle at the back of the throat. You'll feel it on your tongue when it comes through. And then the tricky part is catching it, particularly when it's a little gauge like this.
I don't know if it's gonna happen today. It's been a while, so I'm giving my body a little prep into it. uh, Even just going that far, by the way, if it doesn't come through and you don't get the whole floss, the Surya Neti, as you can see, it's created a little bit of work in the tear ducts as well. So there's quite a strong response there, and actually doing a lot of pranayama, um, breath control, and a lot of that is essentially just working with the muscular reflexes. When you feel like you've got like a kind of reflex happening, look at my body now. Your body is having a reaction to that. When I do this, your body, your nervous system, at the level of the vagus nerve is going, oh my God, what's going on with that person? So actually, unless you're really well regulating, you're going to have an automatic unconscious response to that. So GaG reflex is actually one of the good ones for us to work on, because you're not you're in conscious control of a seemingly unconscious mental process. A lot of that is what really yoga is in its essence. So yeah, working from the gross to the subtle. Start with the gross. Gonna have another go. Let's see. Get back to lefty. So that time I could actually feel, and like I was saying, with this thinner gauge, thicker thicker cable, I found was much easier. It just seemed to want to find its way back out. This thin one, I'm having to like get my finger, and my finger's interfering with the back of the throat, which is encouraging a GaG reflex, which isn't ideal. You can do it without that at all, by the way. But I think the propensity is, when you're a beginner at this, or even when you're looking at someone doing this, you're like, oh, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. There's other ways to do yoga, but if you want really effective pranayama, this is helpful. So yeah, it's hard to find the way through on the left. Here we go. Got a little scratchy feeling. Is it just bending around? What's going on? Ah, here we go. Now I can feel it on the back of the tongue. And if I swallow, it sort of pushes it a little bit. It engages, man. Yeah, so yeah, I'm catching it, but not able to pull it back through without pushing into the back of my kind of glottis. So yeah, maybe have another go with it another day. I think probably pushed it a bit too far now. I'm gonna be kind to myself. You might be thinking, is that kind to yourself? That looks like completely banana stuff. But give it a go. The first part, just the neti pot, very accessible, even though it looks a bit weird. It gives you a lot of the benefits. Like I say, I didn't take the full Surya Neti this time, but even though getting through, just getting clear at the back of the throat, that's quite a good thing to do. And now my airways both feel very clear. You know, be breathing well for the rest of the day, probably. It's something you can do maybe once a week or every couple of weeks if you get into it. This one, same. Some people say every day, but I've read various things. Some people say maybe once a week max is best. Alright, namaste.
I'm gonna have one more go on righty. But you see, second time round, it's just in straight away, no problem.
So I'm not sure what the light's gonna be. Oh my god, you can't talk when you're doing this. That's hilarious. This is going on TikTok for sure. Ah! That's the way to get it. Yeah. Ew. So yeah, coming back out the nose, probably better than pulling it out of the mouth. And what I was trying to explain, and I was trying to show you the roof of my mouth, was the kind of catch technique. So what's going to happen is when it comes out of the back of your nose, at the top of your mouth here, let's imagine this is your sort of gullet, this is your throat where it's going to go down. So when it comes out, it's going to want to kind of go beep, 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 beep. Yep, I'm just going down your throat, don't mind me. And then you're like, that's when you're feeling it on the tongue. So the control is to be able to find a way to kind of have it pushing against the tongue. That's where the gag reflex is going to happen. So then you actually want to bring the finger into my mouth. So I did like this. And you're trying to create a little hook there. So this is my tongue, and I'm going back here. I'm going a little bit to the gullet and just poking it back off the tongue like that. At that point, you'll be able to just push it back out like this. Yeah, so I hope that's a useful technique anyway. I'm sure it's going to benefit like 3 or 4 people that are actually interested in this, but it might be useful for those that do wish to. In the first couple of times you do it, it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but then, progressively and very quickly, so like it took me a few times to just like give my nostril a rest and then come back and go back to it, and it's going to be much easier the next time. And the resilience in your throat is one of the big benefits of doing this practice. Like all yoga practice, not yoga perfect. You don't need to actually do the completion of the asana. There's no complete asana. There's an ongoing process. And what do you experience in the meantime? Hopefully some resilience and some really good, respiratory health, which is a good thing for the world at the moment. Okay. Otherwise, I can teach you just breathing exercises, which are going to help to clear up. Really, this is a preparation for those breathing exercises, just to finesse it a little bit. Wish you a beautiful namaste. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for seeing it through.